That looks good. Custom made. Oh,
Don't drag your foot.
don't drag it. Stuff on the floor. Oh! We're in! We're in!
Hang on, we're in. I'm on. Mine's
Are we
on.
all on?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to this video. This is a very special video because with me I have my two friends who are also musicians, and they're very knowledgeable in musical matters, but they have never heard what is perhaps the greatest progressive rock song, tune, epic ever. So what we're going to do today is I am going to play them in a minute for the first time. You won't see that bit because I don't want to get done for copyright.
They won't see it, but they won't hear it.
They won't see them. I mean, all we're going to do is be sat there listening to it, aren't we? So it's not going to be that interesting. So when we get to that bit, it will sort of just cut using the magic of editing, and then when you come back on, they will give me their thoughts on this.
What is the magic of editing, Andy?
So when you cut a bit out.
Do you know how to do that?
Well, if I have to, I don't like doing it. But we'll be doing it today. So,
Robbie will be doing that bit.
this is the album we'll be listening to. We'll be listening to the vinyl. We're not dealing with any rubbish digital stuff here. I've got my turntable behind. We'll be dealing with that album, and we will be listening to the last track on side 2, which is called Awaken. Now, I'll show the album. See the album there? You can see that? This cover was designed by Hypnosis, so it's actually a triple fold gatefold. It opens up 3 ways. There's inside.
No, it's beautiful, though, to be fair.
And that's the outside. Look at that. I'll show it to you. You all know what it looks like because you've heard this tune. Right, so there we go. This album's famous for having a naked bottom on the front. Have you seen that, Rob?
I have. I have
have
now.
you seen it, Richard?
It's quite a good bottom, isn't it?
I've always thought that. Around about this time, I think the following year, Rush came out with Hemispheres. It's also got a naked bottom
There's
on.
2 hemispheres.
There's 2. I mean, that was too obvious, that was.
It wasn't though. You realise how many jokes I've cracked about these 2 album covers, and I've never cracked that joke.
Cracked.
Cracked! Oh my God! We are English. You have to understand that the double entendre is an art form amongst us. So when you get 3 Englishmen together, you can sometimes go into double entendre meltdown. We've got to get focused on this. Now, I have often wondered who this man is. Because whoever it is has been enshrined in prog lore where his bottom has, and that's very rare in the world of prog. And on other videos, I have tried to work out who it is, wondering whether it might be Patrick Moraz, who was a keyboard player that was ousted before this album.
I'm not sure if anyone in Yes would actually have a bottom that.
Oh, so you're
finely
doubting?
toned.
You're doubting Yes straight off. I see where you're coming from.
But he could be.
I have faith in their bottoms.
He looks a bit like, what was the guy that played Bobby Ewing?
Patrick Duffy. Yeah, and the man from Atlantis.
He's got a bit of, not because I know Patrick Duffy's bum intimately, but
whose bums do you know intimately? There,
there's
Rob?
a few, but he's got that sort of curly, permy sort of 80s hair.
He has, but it's 1977.
70s, so yeah.
Now, these 2 lightweights here, who have not really listened to as many prog epics as I have, and probably you lot have, I suggested we bring some sort of sustenance, because halfway through you might be enjoying it, but you might think, oh my God, I'm really hungry. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the end. And my stomach's rumbling. So you have brought some food.
Yes.
And I think Richard's made a very good choice of food for a prog epic. Shall we just go through what the sustenance we've got?
Well, we've got in this this recyclable container, we have 3 spheres of loveliness, known as the Scotch egg.
And if you took one away, it's very similar.
It's not.
It's very similar to Yes's prog bottom.
Let's take one away. Can we? If I just hold that.
Yes,
there.
you see. Can you see the similarity there, Rob? When you edit this, can you zoom in on that?
I'll
point?
do a little. Yeah.
And anyone expecting something serious here, you're probably realising it might not be that serious. So we've got some Scotch eggs.
Scotch eggs.
I can't think of anything better.
No, there is nothing better.
All the food groups are there, aren't they?
Yeah.
All the food groups.
Scotch and egg.
And polystyrene.
Yeah. Recyclable.
You might be eating that when you have this track. It doesn't go on for a bit. If you're not used to it, all the prog fans are like, oh God, it's only Awaken. It's only 17 minutes. Right, and we've also got a cupcake, which if you notice, I've organised in colour order because I'm the boss and it's my YouTube. I've got the red one, and then your status is which is high, but slightly lower has been symbolised by the yellow cupcake. So we can eat those and have it. Now we've got some coffee, so we're ready to
if
go.
you notice, I also coordinated the coffees deliberately.
Oh, that's brilliant!
So you had the special
English
aesthetic.
Look at my English aesthetic mug. I think we're in prog mode now, aren't we? Stop laughing. This is serious business. I'm going to leave my chair now and put a record on.
Oh, you've got to do that.
Right. If you want to talk, you can. I'm not going to stipulate how you act while it's on.
You're talking to us or the viewers?
I'm talking to the record.
the actual record, yeah. Oh. It's coming from behind.
Even bottoms.
It's
Finished.
It's finished.
finished.
That was very quick.
Is that your first prog rock epic?
I don't think so.
So what else have you heard?
That Mars Volta album.
That's not the same thing. So shall we start with you, Richard? What do you think? What's your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts were that it was a lot more classically inspired than I was expecting it would be. I think if Bach were born in the 70s, he would have made something like that. But I quite enjoyed it.
Did you like it?
Yeah. It went quite quickly, I thought. I mostly enjoyed the instrumental bits. I'd forgotten that there were vocals until we got to sort of around here and they suddenly came back in.
You've forgotten, you just guess. The singer John Anderson, who was singing that, I interviewed a few weeks ago. It was very exciting, and so it's been very nice to be able to play this because I think this is the best prog track of all time.
What I would like to listen to next, in order to have some way of gauging it, is the second best prog track of all time. To know,
the level at which, but also, but this is the thing. It's like because the second best prog track of all time, in Andy's opinion, might sound entirely different.
Yes,
I think that's what's interesting there.
Many years ago, when my channel was a lot younger, I decided to do the 10 greatest prog rock epics.
Yes,
and I had a silly rule that was like the epic sort of had to be a sidelong epic. So I didn't think about this one. And the one I put number one was actually Gates of Delirium, which is on the previous Yes album, which is incredible but chaotic. It's a very chaotic epic, that is. Of course, Yes are known for making perhaps the greatest progressive rock album of all time, which is Close to the Edge. And Close to the Edge was probably vying for number two.
Yeah.
But the thing with this track, after I'd done the video, I thought, because the thing is, I've heard Awaken so many times. I thought it was about 10 minutes long. It's actually about 17 minutes. In fact, I'll rescue it from the stereo. Yeah, it's So
is it half?
It's 15:38.
Half the side.
No, it's pretty much the whole of the side, and this side also opens up with Wondrous Stories, which was a hit record for them, and it's a very short it's probably the greatest short prog song ever made. So I believe that this is the greatest side in progressive rock. Side 1 is very good, but it's not quite at this level. Now, the thing that has always struck me with this one is when you see prog rock epics, it's basically usually sequences of different stuff put one after the other, or it's a great long drone that goes on. But I think this doesn't sound like that. It's incredibly structured, and it goes through all these different phases, but it doesn't feel like you're going from one section to the other.
No, it feels like it's one piece of
music. It's one piece of flowing music, and it's themed, and it reprises earlier things, and wraps it all back up in the sort of in a circle, which and
so I think that's partly one of the things that's always impressed me about this. But beyond that, playing in prog bands myself, if you listen to Close to the Edge or Gates of Delirium, I sort of could understand how they got to that point. But it's unfathomable how you could get to this point with a band. How do you write something like that? And because I think what it is continually over the 15 minutes, it's winding up and up and up and up. It's not a build-up as such. It's climbing upwards all the time, and it's always ascending, and they never seem to relent. It's that they never seem to falter right to when you get to the peak, and then it's right back to the right where you're at the beginning. And I think it's incredible. Also, the instrumentation is, if we have a look on Awaken, John Anderson is playing harp and he's singing. Steve Howe's playing acoustic, electric and pedal steel guitar and singing. Chris Squire's playing the bass. Rick Wakeman's on keyboards, but he's also on church organ. Now, this is when Yes were at their peak and the budgets were huge. This was recorded in Switzerland, and they actually went out to a church. It says here St Martin's Church in Vevey, Switzerland, and that bit's actually recorded in a church on a proper church organ. This is what we've got here. That cadenza that's in the middle. But if you actually look, there's quite a lot of it says Alan White drums,
choral arrangement as well, or
there's a whole choir in there, the Richard Williams singers, which has been arranged by Rick Wakeman. It's incredible. The arrangement is beyond the instruments. I can't hear instruments on it. It just sounds like a full orchestra. The Yes are known for being symphonic prog, but often you can sort of hear the band emulating that. They got lots of mellotrons. That doesn't sound like this. Actually, is beyond. No. And so I've always found it a really incredible piece, of music. What do you think?
There's a real Eastern either folk classical sort of influence in there, and some of those sort of microtonal little licks and lines that kind of chromatic runs feels very Eastern to me, and I think that's what sets it apart a little bit, because it does. There is a thing, in prog where, like you say, it's like people tend to do like it's a section by section by section and goes off and does, and it's like these could be things that could just be split into smaller songs, but still, a lot of things being in that sort of contemporary frame. But the fact that it draws on these sort of classical and these Eastern and folk elements and all these things is what sort of just makes it just like. Like you say, how do you get to that point where you can pull those in and it doesn't sound like you're just putting that in for the sake of it? It's very it's very planned. It's very particular in how it's been sort of created like that. I feel.
And do you know much about the creative process of Yes? And did they work very collaboratively, or is it mainly?
Yeah, it's very collaborative. When you look at the writer of this, it's quite interesting because the writer is down, I think, as John Anderson, the singer, and then Steve Howe, the guitar player, and yet Rick Wakeman is arranging those keyboards. I can't see how he didn't write the opening piano cadenza or the organ condenser in the middle. So it suggests that there's a lot more. John Anderson is really a knowledgeable musician, and he doesn't say so. He never makes this out. He's a singer and he gets up on stage, but he's a big fan of Sibelius, and he studies those. And I think a lot of this is coming from John Anderson.
Yeah,
I think the guitar parts are coming from Steve Howe. And I think what Steve Howe brings to it is, Rob's right, that Eastern influence. You could, this sounds very English, very symphonic, very uplifting, but inside there's this big bonkers Eastern sound. All that bit. And when I first heard it as a kid, this does not have the sort of pompousness of a lot of prog.
No.
Even some of Yes's stuff is a bit pompous. But this sounds cool. When that riff kicks in, you go, I don't expect this is actually really cool, you know. So I just don't know how they... I think what you've got here is, Yes created this style of music from sort of 1970, 71 on. They're trying to build... And at this point, they're just at the peak of their game. But it's 1977, so this is when the whole prog thing's about to collapse, you know, and punk's coming out. But of course, this album would have outsold all the punk albums put together, you know. So it's interesting that they were still so strong at this point.
I think they're at a point where they're just like, let's just see what we can do. Let's just enjoy ourselves and do what we really want to do, and see what comes of it. I think that's the thing. There's no sort of contrivedness or whatever the word would be.
Yeah.
In there, he's just like. It just feels like something that's come together naturally without really any external influence. I think not is it external pressure or what?
They're also maybe at this point they've reached, as you say, they've reached that peak, so they know creatively what their process is and how they work, and they can really kind of, or they have really refined that to the point where they can produce something like this. They're not necessarily trying to figure out what they're doing.
No, they rely on that already.
That they've got, they know what they're doing.
I think I've always felt Yes is John Anderson's band, so it's the singer's band, and he's got a vision for it, and they worked towards it, and they had to bring the musicians in. And I think when Steve Howe came in with his guitar playing, which is not, I mean, he is one of the great rock guitarists, but he's not like Clapton or Jimmy Page or Richie Blackmore. It's a complete different world of guitar.
Yeah,
and he brought a very structured thing in, and then when Rick Wakeman comes in, he brings in this sort of Royal College of Music trained thing, and they start to move towards, they hit close to the edge. Then they do the famous Tales from Topographic Oceans, which might be a step too far. When they get to Tales from Topographic Ocean, I think that probably a lot of the prog bands, they were undone by the fact that punk came along. All the musicians were so brilliant and so individual, is that once they got the success, they actually wanted to do their own thing, and so you get this sort of, I want to do this, right? Yeah. So what Yes did was, Rick left in at 73, he goes off. They bring in Patrick Moraz. Now, at that point, they can pick who they want, and Patrick Moraz is probably one of the most technically advanced keyboardists in prog, like a jazz fusion keyboardist. And when you read the interview with him, he said he turned up, and they went to this farm, and they're all together, and they're running this stuff down, and he said they were astonishing, where they could say, we'll do this, we'll be in 11/8, we go there, and he said they start to play, and it would just sound like that. Now, so a lot of this is created with everybody in the same room at the same time. The earlier epics were actually, they would work something out, and they would record it, and then they would mix that off, and then it would literally cut that tape out, and they'd stick it on the wall in the studio. Right? And they work something else out, and they stick it on the wall, and Eddie Offord, the producer, was having to put these, and they were literally cut together. And with Close to the Edge, I think it was, there's a famous story that they gave the next day, and the cleaner had come in and seen these things and just stuck them in the bin, and they had to go out into the bin and clear it off, you know, and wipe it all down and try and get it back, work out what they got and all this sort of stuff. So I think that's the process, collectively playing on individual ideas and cutting it together. Now, whether this one was cut together in the studio, this is 1977, but I don't think they hadn't advanced that much. There's no digital technology here, is there? So,
but it doesn't feel like there's any sort of sudden sort of changes. It does. The transitions tend to. But I mean, excuse me. There is that bit where it goes to the middle bit where there's the organ where it really slows down. Yeah. But I don't feel like it suddenly stopped and became. It felt like it was having to head to that point.
Yeah.
Well, I think at this point, as I've thought my way through, at this point, they just had a lot more tracks. So rather than cut together, they might have been able to mix. I don't know. Yeah. You've still got to make cuts, haven't you? You can't drop in. You've still got to cut tape.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Or you at least overdub some kind of transition.
Yeah.
You do the cut and then you overdub something that sort of helps transition it. But yeah, but again, you would probably feel that you'd feel that there's something covering something up. But like we've said, it all sort of seems to flow quite.
Richard, you're a guitar player. What do you think of the guitar playing on it?
It's quite amazing. It's still, we're not, I guess, historically at that point, we're not into the realm of very technical, like shred type players. Yeah. But even still, like that bit quite early on in the song, isn't there, where there's a long solo. It's still quite a technical solo. He's still playing
alternate picking. It's
yeah.
And I think with Steve Howe, you also have to get around the fact that he's absolutely got his own sound.
Yeah.
So he's doing all this technical stuff and playing fast, and he's overdriven, but it's almost like a rock and roll Chet Atkins sound he's got. But he's not playing like that. I mean, he can play like that. He can pick flamenco, finger picking.
There is that right at the little lick right at the end.
Yeah.
Felt very that sort of.
Yeah, but they just finish it off with that little
kind of sort of down here somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what about? I mean, I know what this is about. Does anyone know? Did you glean what this song is about?
No.
I started trying to read the lyrics because, as we've discussed many times, I don't listen to. Well, not that I don't listen, but I can't tell what lyrics are a lot of the time, as you've described.
Yeah. Well, I don't listen to the lyrics, but because I've been listening to this when I was a kid. In 1981, when I first discovered music, and I was listening to like Motorhead and Venom, I used to listen to Tommy Vance on the Friday Night Rock show, and this radio show comes up over and over again on this channel. And so many people of my age, we would listen to that to listen to the new wave of British heavy metal. Yeah. At the end of the year, Tommy Vance would he'd have this thing that was the 10 greatest tracks ever made. Stairway to Heaven would be on there, Freebird, it would be stuff like that. And he always used to put this one on. And so at the age of 12, not knowing anything about this, I got the Yes album around about the same time, but I didn't even know who this band was. And I can remember sitting with the headphones on, like 45 years ago, headphones on like this, going, what is this? You know, all my mates are into Adam and the Ants, and you've got this going on. Yeah. You know, and it was a funny one that Tommy Vance picked this, because this album is not one of the main, it's not like Close to the Edge or Fragile or, you know, those real classic albums. It's a funny one, but he was right. Tommy Vance was right. What do you think, Rob?
Is it ever?
I started trying to read.
Is it about death or the afterlife or something?
I think that's what it's about. I think it's about awakening into the afterlife.
Into the afterlife, yeah.
Or some kind of transcendence into either the afterlife or
another plane,
Nirvana or something. Yeah.
And once you realise that, Yes aren't just trying to create amazing prog epic, that they've actually composed stuff to create this ethereal ascendance up into heaven type of thing, which is incredible. They're not just doing it for effect, you know. What before we finish up, I grew up with all this stuff. You're got slightly different tastes in music. How does this sit with what you would consider normal taste, normal rock and roll taste, normal pop taste, to sit down and take on a track that goes on for that long and all the journey? How do you think you perceive it? Was that like, this is really... I mean, you'll know what a prog epic is, so you've come here and go, right, we're going to listen to a prog epic, so...
So some of the stuff, some things that I've been listening to recently, which is going back a little bit further to more like experimental music and tape music and music concrete and so on, which are even longer pieces and more abstract. So actually this is kind of like easy listening. But if I were to play this to my dad, who is a Status Quo fan, massive Status Quo fan, he would just turn his nose up and be like, no bloody tune in this. Where's the dun 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 dun? And you know, and that, no interest at all. Where's the dun 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 dun?
Yeah.
It's like he's in his own bracket, and it's like I know about it.
It takes a bit of work to listen to it, and having listened to it once, I want to go away now and listen to it again a few times to try and pick out more of what's going on in there.
So
I think
did you actually like? Did you go? Oh, this is really good. And did you feel like you want to own it or have?
Well, I enjoyed it, and that's why I want to listen to it again.
What about you, Rob?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not maybe so far removed from being brought up on prog than Rich's, but so I heard, and I did recognise that piano stuff at the start, the condenser at the start. I did recognise that, although I don't feel like I recognise the rest of them. So you know.
You obviously switched it off after that.
So I just went, so that's enough. That's enough prog for me. I mean, it's just like anything I've heard of Wakeman. Anyway, I've been a fan of the work with Bowie and stuff, and it's like, and he is just. It's incredible. It's the
and when he comes in at the start,
it's the two hand synchronicity. It's just like
he's good, and you take him for granted. And he comes on the telly. He's a grumpy old man. He cracks some jokes, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's like a comedy show. When they signed in, if you ever watch it on YouTube, it's incredible. And so you get used to Rick Wakeman, and then you put this on about, and you say, "Oh my God, it's like the power."
Yeah.
I do absolutely love this tune, and I know the people watching this love this tune. So. I think it's been nice to introduce it to new people, and hopefully, some people who are watching this who haven't listened to it, they will go away and listen to it. But I think we're sort of done, don't you?
I think so.
There's one more thing I want to ask you, because Richard, you're not just a guitar player; you're into modular synthesis, aren't you? And you've got lots of modules, and you do synthesis with those modules, don't you?
Indeed.
And you do that over on your YouTube channel.
I do, yes.
And what's that called?
It's called Just Richard Charles. I changed the name of it.
What you've changed? Is it just Richard Charles?
As in, just is part of the name.
So the actual
just Richard Charles.
Yeah. So the just bit is part of the thing.
I couldn't make it more complicated.
So I know him.
Only just Richard Charles. Is that it?
Knowing what you two are into, it was funny when I was listening to it, because when it drops down into the middle bit, there's actually quite a long bit of sort of ambient and theory, and I thought, you might like that bit there, and you might go, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And yet on the other side, because you enjoy the vocal harmonies and that, and this is just like overload of vocal harmonies, isn't it? So,
did you? That's what I was going to ask you though. Did you find yourself like you say, listening to it? With a new sort of set of ears, thinking of how we might be, and then hearing different things, then going like, actually, this would be really interesting there because of this. And
I think that you could listen to music on your own, but this is something that's just gone in like 30 odd years ago. I used to have my mate Clive up in Wolverhampton, and he had a huge record collection, and so did I. And so I would get about 10 albums, go over to his house, we'd have a cup of tea. I'll put that in inverted commas. We'd have a cup of tea, and then we would play different records, and we would try and play stuff that the other person wouldn't know was part of. I'm trying to do part of my world. So Clive was into the blues, and he was like into folk music and stuff like that. And I remember going up there, and he goes, "Have you ever heard John Martin?" Because he was a folky type. And I went, "Not really." And he put John Martin on, and it was One World, and it was like this weird, trippy bitches brew prog, and that was incredible. And at that point, I was
electronic stuff.
And it was. I would take him like Al Di Meola, trying to get him into those guitar players. He was much more into just standard BB King and stuff. But he had some really interesting tastes, and I think sometimes you'll think something's really good, but when you play to someone else, you suddenly get their take on it, and you go, from their point of view, this is just terrible.
Yeah. I think I don't think that can apply. Well, mind you, like Rich said though, with his dad, he would shut off from this. But actually, you do need to have an open mind, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, not just for this, but just to listen to stuff that you don't normally listen to.
I think in this instance, it's nice to actually we've taken the time to come and sit down and not do anything else and just listen to this.
Yeah.
And actually,
it's not like we're putting it on
specific time. Yeah. It's not just playing in the background.
We're not putting it on in the background and then suddenly going, "Oh, this is interesting. What's this?"
Whatever.
It's
and that's a very different way of listening, isn't it?
That was what fired me up when I had the idea this morning. Because what happened, everybody, is Richard said he's going to bring me a CD over. That was it. I said, "Well, if you're coming over, may as well do a video." And then when I thought about it, I came down here. I've restructured the room, put the table out, and I thought it's very important that we get the record and listen to the record, And it's like when I put it on, I put it on this morning just to check it was all working, And I'm like, it's a record, is it? So it hasn't got that top end, it hasn't got that meat, it's a vinyl record. And it's a completely different experience. And this is rare to have people sit down and listen to a record. Well, it is for me anyway.
Well, it's rare, I think, these days to have people sit down and listen to anything.
Yeah.
You know?
It's generally it's on in the background, or it's on while you're driving the car, or and actually just to sit and just do nothing but apart from eat a Scotch egg and a fairy cake.
I've got to be honest. I've got to say that this track was really impressive. But the most impressive bit for me was when I bit into that Scotch egg. It was ridiculous.
The crispiness.
Was it a Tesco's Scotch egg?
No.
I've got a video on my channel, everybody. You can check it out. I did a short documentary on the Scotch egg, and I went into great detail. And I went and got a luxury Scotch egg from Tesco's. No, but that was nothing compared to that.
These are luxury Scotch eggs.
How much are they each?
£1.50.
That's not too bad.
And, from the deli in
Kimber.
Yeah. But I will say that in Bridge North, there's a butcher's, like the main street in Bridge North. And
I know the one, yeah.
They do a Scotch egg in there, which, if this is up to
So
10...
link will be below.
Do not mention another Scotch egg a shop.
Emporium.
Because the thing is, if there's a maniac watching this, they go in with 3 Scotch egg shops. They can triangulate. You know where you live. Outside your house. This is 101. YouTube never give away 3 Scotch egg shops because they'll find you.
Okay, I will give away a 3rd Scotch egg.
Don't do it.
No,
they're going to know it.
But this is going to throw.
No, he'll throw. There's one in London.
So there's a garden centre, and what is it? Where is it now?
Denmark.
Yeah.
I think it's.
Wait a minute.
Webb's.
What? Webb's the Wishbowl.
That's the one.
Oh, yeah.
They do a very good Scotch egg.
I think they can find out where you are straight away. I know which one you were talking about.
Yeah, but that's quite a big triangle now.
I know, but the thing is that they can calculate it because they thought, right.
Well, it's slightly further than that.
I'm just
they're going to make an isosceles out of this.
I'll nip out to Kimber because that's just a standard small shop in Kimber.
Yeah.
Webb's and Wishbowl is a day out. So Sunday you go to Webb's and Wishbowl, and with that triangulation, you're not going to go 3 hours. You're going to do about 3/4 of an hour to Webb's and Wishbowl.
Is it Wishbowl or Witchbowl?
I don't know which Witchbowl it is. It's either Wishbowl or Witchbowl. I don't know which one it is.
I don't even know if that's the right way.
No, there's the Webb's in Hagley as well.
It's not that one.
No, I knew it wasn't that one because of the triangulation.
No, yeah.
It could be that one, but I don't know. It might be a different garden centre. I'm thinking of. And there's a big garden centre where there's lots of nice things.
Anyway, but the Scotch egg was very.
This is better than AWAKEN.
We should
bloody load of rubbish props.
Get rid of it all. We should have just talked for an hour about Scotch eggs.
I knew it. I tried my best. I come up with a structure.
When did you buy that record?
Not very long ago. I bought it second hand.
Okay, because it says $3.99.
No, that is historic. I bought that at a record fair. I spent £5 on it, which is very good for that record because it is worth something.
Not so much you just throw it off across the floor.
Well, I only do that to wind them up.
Yeah, I know.
That's all I do to wind them up. I'm going to do the extra bloody record as well.
Oh, I don't care.
There we go. There we go. I do not care. I'm an anarchist.
There was a bit actually when it went quite quiet, and you could hear there was a lot of crackle.
There was a lot of crackle.
That's because this is how I treat them.
Yeah, you can clean it.
They had a go at me the other day. I got this record out. Led Zeppelin 3. I got it out. And it all went wrong. All my Scotch egg fingers were all over it. Yeah. They go, what they go? And the other thing they've been moaning about is me putting my guitars against the radiator. I don't think you might be able to see it over there. These radiators aren't on.
I watched the radio the other day. I was like, he's put his guitars.
The radiators are not full.
What is funny? That one, if you could see from it, that one is my guitar. And I did have a double take, and then I went, I know these radiators aren't on. So
yeah, they're not. Yeah. The radiators are not on, so we don't have to worry.
Display radiators.
Yeah, they are exactly that.
Display radiators.
They're just for show. And I've got to be honest. That going for the one. If you ever go to a record fair and you find the box that's got all the cheap ones in, you start going through, you'll see 4 going for the ones.
You'll see what? Sorry.
You'll see 4. They're just everywhere. Yeah. Going for the one is so easy to get at a record fair. So I just treat them like that. If I only listen to them 3 times and then I just chuck them.
Yeah.
Even if they're worn out or not, they just chuck them and then I get a new one.
Fair enough.
We're done, aren't we?
Looks
I
like
think
it.
so.
You know what you can do, because you're closest, because Rob did it the other day.
I did.
It's an honour I can bestow on you at the end of the video.
And people can judge who says it better.
Yeah, well, it's me that does it the best.
No, us too. Yeah, you're the more
The
rehearsed.
thing is, you've got quite a lot of things, haven't you? At the
I
end
have.
of your videos, I've
Yeah,
got
you
to
gotta
remember
remember.
everything now.
That's why you want to see if you can pull it off. Do it to camera. There they are. In fact, I'm going to get out the thing and I'm going to get it on you because you've been a bit over the edge.
I'll just sit in the middle.
Don't worry, I'll do it. I'm going to move it.
Oh my God, careful.
I'm going to move it.
Right,
Rob's
right in
editing.
on his face.
Oh my God, it's gone really funny. Yeah, we're still going. There you go. There you go. Do the ending bit and then I'll switch it off.
If you have enjoyed this video, then please hit the like button. If you want to see more of these videos, hit the subscribe button. If you want to support Andy and his channel, then you can go to his links below.
And what are they?
There's a Patreon link. There is a PayPal something or other link where you can just give him money. There is, I don't know what else
That's
there is.
it.
That's
there's the charity for this
Oh,
lovely
there's
place.
the charity for this
and
lovely
that
place.
is important because that money doesn't go to me.
That is the most important.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're done, aren't we?
I think so.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.